If you guys are keeping up with the news regarding Russia, then I'm pretty sure you've already heard about the death of Alexei Navalny, the leader of the Russian opposition and one of the most famous critics of Vladimir Putin. Well, his funeral was just held in Moscow, Russia, and it turned into one of the biggest anti-government protests of the recent times. Yes guys, on the 1st of February of 2024, thousands of Russians went outside to commemorate the passing of Navalny and also to show the governments that people who disagree also exist. Shouting Navalny's name, "No to War," and also some other pro-Ukrainian slogans in the middle of Russia in 2024, which is a country where essentially no protest is allowed, and people in Moscow were literally threatened that if they attended this funeral, they would get kicked out of their jobs and their universities, but nevertheless, still, thousands came out and made their voice heard. And I think this right here is what actual national support and respect looks like, as opposed to this. What is up guys, it is your boy Roman, your favorite neighborhood Russian, coming at you guys once again from another Airbnb, and today I'm going to be talking about the huge protest that just happened in Russia regarding Alexei Navalny's funeral. Now the thing is that this funeral in Moscow almost didn't happen, because Russia initially did not want to give Navalny's body to his family. Right after Alexei died, his mother Lyudmila flew right to Salykard, which is a city in the north of Russia right next to where Navalny was imprisoned, but was not given her son's body by the prison. Navalny's team actually said that the prison officials claim that the body is going to be undergoing a process of additional chemical expertise for like 13 days or something. And in response to all of this, Navalny's mother actually released a video addressing Vladimir Putin.
Я обращаюсь к вам, Владимир Путин. Дайте мне, наконец, увидеть моего сына.
So yes, things were not off to a great start, but then Navalny's mother posted yet another video in which she said that she was essentially threatened by the investigative committee of Russia, which basically told her that Navalny is either going to be buried in Salykard, so in the north of Russia essentially, far away from Moscow so that nobody could attend his funeral and turn it into a massive protest, and they wanted to do it in secrecy in a sort of undisclosed location to the public, and they basically told her that you either agree to these terms, or you're basically not gonna be able to see your son's body. And obviously guys, this situation is absolutely fucking ridiculous, because at this point, the Russian government is not just afraid of Navalny, they're even afraid of him when he's dead. Because his figure has so much weight and respect within the Russian people that they know that if they will allow this funeral to take place in Moscow, a ton of people will come and will turn into this huge thing. So they wanted to bury Navalny somewhere in the north just so that the people of Russia cannot come out and make their voice heard, which is just absolutely fucking ridiculous. I mean, it's hilarious that Russia claims to be a country of, family values and Christian values, and yet this is how you treat a mother, an elderly lady who just wants to bury her son. So obviously this was a huge story, and a lot of Russian celebrities and journalists, mostly obviously those who left Russia already, they also released a video essentially asking Russia to give Navalny's body to his family, and supposedly Russia finally caved in. Navalny's body finally was given to his family, and the funeral took place on the 1st of February in a church in the Moscow district of Marina. And like I already told you guys, a lot of people came. The line to the church and later to the cemetery spread it across several kilometers.
Алексей хотел дать мне свободу, но он погиб.
So obviously the news about Navalny's funeral and the crowds that it gathered created a lot of buzz in the Western and Russian media, but actually, I do find it really funny how Russian media has been reporting on this particular day. And in order to show it to you guys, here I am on the website of Ground News on an article about Putin foe Alexei Navalny being buried in Moscow as thousands attend under heavy police presence. And if you guys don't know what Ground News is, it's essentially a news aggregator on ultra settings and the ultimate news comparison platform. And you can use Ground News yourself if you go over to ground.news/NFKRZ through the link on the screen or the link in the description. So here once again on the article about Navalny's funeral, it shows me that there's a total of 417 news sources that cover this, and I also get to see the political bias of the sources that reported on this. Show me how much of the coverage came from the left, the right, or the center. And I can actually go down and individually check out every single article and read it, and you can actually see Russian state media among these sources. Now what I noticed is that Western articles here, for example, thousands turn out to mourn Navalny defying Putin, they usually do point out how thousands showed up to the funeral. But for example, if we look at TASS, which is Russian media, it simply says Navalny laid to rest at Moscow cemetery. Yes, nothing else happened, you guys. RIA Novosti, another one. Navalny was buried in Moscow. Yes guys, and certainly nothing else noteworthy happened that day. And with a feature like Bias Insights, for example, Ground News also shows you what different sides of the political debate are saying about a certain event, and you also get to see the factuality and the ownership of the media that you read. I love to see through the media narrative, and if you guys want to do the same, then go over to the link down in the description to ground.news/NFKRZ, stay informed and subscribe through my link for as little as $1 a month, or get 30% off of unlimited access through the Vantage subscription. Huge thank you to Ground News for showing us how truthful Russian media really is, and for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back into it. So, when it was announced that the funeral was gonna take place on the 1st of February, the night before, Russia has already sent basically tons of armed and heavily armored police, essentially SWAT units, with a ton of police cars, etc., all around the side of the church, and they also installed metal fences to essentially keep people away from going onto the roads. But anyway guys, what do you even have to say? The footage speaks for itself, it's all there. You can see tons of people with flowers commemorating Navalny. These people essentially represent the best of Russia in my opinion. These are the people who care about what happens in the country. These are the people who care about individual rights and freedom in their country. And these are the people who definitely don't support the
special military operation in Ukraine.
And like I already mentioned, a lot of the chants that the crowds were screaming were actually very pro-Ukrainian and anti-war. Which is really interesting because it seems hard to imagine this happening in modern Russia, but it is. And Russia does like to paint a picture that essentially everybody who, disagrees with the war, everybody who dislikes Putin or the governments, they've already all left the country, they're all traitors or whatever, or they're all, in prison already. Essentially, everybody in Russia loves Putin, right? Once again guys, the footage kinda speaks for itself. This is Moscow, the capital of a country that is currently waging a war, in which obviously we all know that, 146% of the people, they all support it, they all love it. Navalny is a traitor to the country that nobody likes. Yeah, sure. Watch these videos once again and tell me, are these statements true? Because I don't really think they are. And essentially what these crowds gathering to commemorate Navalny did is that they're showing, not only to the Russian government, but actually also to the rest of the world, to the West, to the people out there, that Russians who, disagree with the government and who don't like what is going on, and who think that everything that's going on is ridiculous, and who support the opposition, do exist. And the support for the Russian opposition may be actually way larger than we might expect. And the people who turned up as well surprised me a lot, quite honestly. There was a lot of young people, middle-aged people, there were also a lot of elderly people too, which once again also directly completely destroys Russian propaganda. Because for years Russian propaganda liked to say that Navalny is essentially only supported by like kids and teenagers and essentially little children. Because only the impressionable children could get swayed by, this liberal degeneracy here in Russia. All the actual grown-ups, they realize that Putin is the greatest president ever. Well, guess what? Look at the people who turned up. They're not all kids and teenagers. People of all ages and people of all walks of life throughout the entirety of Russia have been affected by Navalny, his life and his work. And what he did, and the sort of, hope he provided, and a sort of symbol of, freedom and also peace, I guess, that he was, that message resonated not just with the children, but also with the adults, and also with the elderly, and that is exactly what we are seeing at this funeral proceeding. And thousands of people also turned up not only to attend the funeral at the church, but also at the cemetery itself. And once again, the line to the cemetery, essentially, basically on the sidewalk, stretched for kilometers, and not everybody who wanted to, pay their respects to Navalny and see him for the last time was able to do it, obviously, because the amount of people that turned up was just crazy. The parents of Alexei Navalny were also present at the funeral, and I just want to show you this clip in particular. Very touching, very touching. When I watched that, I don't know, it's fucking sad, man. I've already made a video on Navalny's death and, the impact he had on me once again. I said that when Navalny died, I honestly felt like I lost a family member or something. And apparently a lot of Russians feel like this, and just seeing Navalny's parents, in the state, over the death of their son is absolutely heartbreaking, just absolutely gut-wrenching. But also the fact that people are coming up and, hugging them and thanking them for their son and everything he did and, his life and his work and his legacy. I don't know, it's sad, it's very, very fucking depressing, but it's also beautiful. It's also like, it gives me hope, because it makes me happy that so many Russians, just like me, felt like Navalny has, changed them, or was trying to fight to improve their lives.
Я думаю, что Юля подхватит его знамя и понесет дальше. Я на это очень надеюсь. Алексея хочу поблагодарить за его жизнь.
The wife of Alexei, Yulia Navalny, was actually not present at the funeral because, well, she's actually become pretty active after the death of Navalny and actually announced that she will be continuing her husband's work. Now, obviously, we do not know what exactly that means and what exactly Yulia Navalny plans to be doing, but she's essentially already said a bunch of things that probably make it really unsafe for her to be in Russia. So I imagine she actually might have not been able to even attend the funeral because she literally could just be arrested in Russia at this point. And honestly, I can only, be amazed at Yulia right now because obviously she's dealing with an insane loss, but also she has the power in herself to still come out there in the public eye and actually still try to do work and, continue spreading Alexei's message. All I have to say is just what a very powerful woman of real dignity she is, That is very commendable and I have a lot of respect for her. So yes, the funeral was essentially huge and it turned into a huge protest, and honestly guys, I felt kinda proud of the citizens of Moscow for the first time in my life for like, I don't know how many fucking years. Because in modern Russia, even going out to the funeral of a dead opposition politician could be potentially dangerous to you, and dangerous to your career or like education or whatever. I mean, it's fucking ridiculous. Now, surprisingly enough though, guys, one thing apparently that did not happen much during this entire, funeral proceeding is that actually there weren't any massive police violence or like arrests. Because technically this in Russia would be categorized as sort of an unsanctioned demonstration, and the police has legal rights to essentially arrest every single person they see for simply being there. But somehow, I don't know why, I don't know what kind of political decision was made here in the Kremlin, but as far as the arrests and, police violence, this funeral and this protest actually went by pretty normally and pretty smoothly, which is very, very surprising because in my previous video, if you guys remember, I talked about how when Russians went outside right after the death of Navalny to lay flowers to the monument related to the political prisoners, Russian police started arresting people for bringing flowers and mourning a dead person, which is once again, guys, yes, family values, Christian values, yes, guys, based Russia, hell yeah, just absolute fucking insanity. So after that, I expected this funeral protest to turn into something ridiculous, but it didn't. I don't know what it is. Maybe because the election is coming up and, they don't really want to make a huge mess and, make themselves look bad before it. I don't fucking know. At this point, guys, absolutely nothing they do makes any sense. And obviously, the death of Alexei Navalny and the funeral has been a huge topic in Russia. Everybody's talking about this right now, except the sellout and cancelled celebrities that are essentially currently forced to promote the governments in order to become uncancelled. Remember guys, in one of my previous videos that talks about this Russian almost naked celebrity party that took place in Moscow, where essentially the Russian government got mad at a bunch of people who made a private party and, revealing clothing for promoting LGBT and like debauchery or whatever. And all the Russian stars that took part in this party essentially got completely cancelled. All of their concerts, all their contracts completely cancelled. And it was by far the worst for Nastya Ivleva, the organizer of the party, who actually completely disappeared off the radar after this party started, and recently, after her long hiatus and the death of Alexei Navalny, who she by the way publicly supported before, she essentially made a post on her Telegram saying that she just watched Vladimir Putin's new address to the Russian government, the points and the program and the plans that were outlined in Putin's speech. I feel like I will go and vote for that. Essentially, that's what she said, so she was basically forced to support Vladimir Putin in this upcoming election to bring back her career. And this is something that's happening to a lot of these, Russian stars right now that got canceled because of this party. They're essentially having to go on, trips to the Donbass, and they have to, go to orphanages and, animal shelters and perform in front of, I don't even know. It's absolutely pathetic, They're essentially just trying to show to the Russian government that, they're Z, so that they get uncancelled. And, yes, for some, getting uncancelled means promoting Vladimir Putin. Even being a person who has, publicly supported Navalny in the past. Nastya Ivleva, the great Russian celebrity influencer, has not said a single word about Navalny's death or his funeral or anything, but has supported Vladimir Putin in the upcoming election. So, this is the dumbest fucking shit, I swear to God. But yes, guys, essentially this is what's been going on in Russia for the past week. This country is going to absolute hell. I don't know what the fuck is going on. The election is coming up soon. We all know who's gonna win. Navalny is dead, and things are fucking bad. But once again, guys, seeing thousands of people come out in support of Navalny on the streets, and seeing thousands of these people screaming and shouting things that you're not allowed to say in Russia, it inspires me a lot, and it makes me feel like maybe, just maybe, there's still hope out there somewhere. But only time will tell. Anyways, guys, I hope you did enjoy today's video. If you guys did, please make sure to slap the like on it. As always, guys, if you would like to support me additionally, and that is financially, then go over to the link down in the description and become a YouTube member, which is basically like a monthly subscription. It's YouTube's own version of Patreon, and it's the best way to support me. Or for a one-time donation, you can also do a super thanks underneath this video. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Rest in peace to Alexei Navalny, and peace.